How is it going, everyone? Welcome to Ladies Take Over Liberty Rest podcast. I am your host, Megan, and I have a guest. We're having some technical difficulties, so they will be on in a little bit. Hopefully, we can get them on. But in the meantime, there's a lot that's been happening. I know this is a new time. We've kind of switched it up a little bit, and we're trying to revamp everything that we're doing. So bear with us for the moment because there's more good things to come and we have things in the works at the moment. But just wanted to let everyone know what is new in my life really fast. So as you might have, if you watched the show yesterday with the guys, I have moved to Colorado. So this is my new setup for the moment. I have new wine glasses. Look how pretty that is. It's iridescent. It's like a unicorn. It's pretty like me, like my highlight. So I'm in Colorado now. I'm just outside of Denver. It's beautiful here. It's been very wet this past couple weeks. It has not gotten over 80 degrees here. So it's been beautiful. There's tons of hiking here. I've tried going hiking. I got about 5 minutes on a trail. And my friend that was with me, he's like, come on, let's go. And I'm sitting there, I can't breathe. So apparently hiking is not really my strong suit at the moment. It will be. We'll get there. But there has been some stuff in the news around this area that I wanted to share because I know everyone has been talking about it and sharing it, and I wanted to talk about it a little bit because I think it's super cool and I'm very impressed with this young lady. And if somebody knows her and can get me in contact with her, I want to talk to her because she is amazing. So there is this young girl, specialist Mara Spence. I'm looking at the article right now. So this girl just won. She's from Fort Carson, so she's in my area. I might just show up at her job and be like, come here, I need to talk to you. We're gonna go live right now. But she's from Fort Carson, specialist Mara Spence Carroll. She's from Katy, Texas. She's an intelligence analyst. This girl won Miss Fort Carson, which I didn't realize that they have beauty pageants or like pageants for bases, because had there been one, I would have been on it. I probably would have lost, knowing me, because hello, it's me. But she has won Miss Fort Carson. After that, she then won Miss Colorado. This girl, she just joined the Army in 2018. She's going on to Miss America. How crazy is that? That we have a young Army specialist that's going to be Miss America. I'm super impressed with her. I wish her all the best of luck, and I hope that she wins because she seems like a beautiful, intelligent, great girl. Her platform is veterans' mental health issues. So I'm super excited for her. But also, I'm super excited to invite our guest in. They just arrived. So if everyone could please virtually give her a round of applause, I guess, for Chelsey Poisson.
How's it going? Thank you.
Hey, how's it going? What was that?
I was having some troubles with, everything. So I apologize for coming late, and I had to make my coffee. So thank you.
You're totally fine. I just finished mine, so that's why I'm like, yep. I'm here now. But thank you for being on. Did I pronounce your name right? I don't know if I did or not.
Yeah. Chelsey Poisson, poison. I get everything,
Well, I know that Poisson is a French word, so I was like, I don't know if she pronounces it the French way or not, but I was like, whatever. So welcome to Ladies Take Over Liberty Risk. I'm so excited to have you here with us. So you are the CEO of HunterSeven Foundation.
That's a lot of responsibility. Yeah, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm currently at the moment I'm the executive director, but I'm trying to hand that position off.
Okay.
Yeah, research is where my heart is. So, being a nurse, doing research, and I'm a veteran, so I swear a lot, and I'm not the person that you want there saying, hey, this is what we do, because I wear ripped shirts and I swear a lot. So but
I totally feel you. That's awesome. No, I think you're exactly where you need to be, and you've done exactly everything that you've needed to do to get to where you are. And I think that's super cool that you're with HunterSeven. Oh, your website is so freaking sweet. I was checking it out earlier. I was like, yo, that thing is tight.
So I can't take credit for it because literally I didn't even know how to plug in a microphone. So we had to hire somebody out, but she did a kick-ass job. And I said to her, I was like, I want an interactive map, like trying to be all high speed and stuff. And she actually did it. So I was impressed. So I'm still trying to update data on there and figure that out. But we're trying. We're trying to upload some information in there, resources, streamline stuff. It's a work in progress.
Yeah, well, you guys definitely have had a lot of progress on it. It looks amazing. If anyone is wondering how to access this website, it is HunterSeven Foundation. Now, before we get too far ahead of ourselves, I want to hear about you as a person and your story a little bit. So just tell us a little bit about yourself real fast.
Yeah, so 30 years old. I feel like I'm 65. I got the typical Army back and knees and everything.
I feel you.
Yeah, it's brutal. Yeah, so I actually got a full scholarship to go to school for sports when I graduated high school, and I barely. It's funny because I barely graduated, but full scholarship to play sports, and it was a military academy. And when I went there, I was like, no, this isn't for me. And so I dropped out, and I actually joined the military, which was odd. My first 2 weeks in, I cried every night. That was fun. I ended up being a platoon leader as a E5, which was also fun. I was in charge of 30 soldiers who they were a pain in the ass. I learned a lot from them, but after that, I got severely injured. I ended up injuring my spine. I had a spinal cord injury. So they were like, your career's over. And I was like, well, shit. Now what?
Oh, shucks.
I was like, well, shit, I don't know what I'm going to do now. And I actually, right before I got medically discharged, I got into nursing school. So I went to nursing school, and I was like, these kids suck. They were just so young, and like they're like, we know how the world works. And I was like, the hell you do. You
know nothing.
Yelling at them. And so, but I ended up falling in love with it, which is funny because I used to pass out as a child when I got shots. So but yeah, so I met my fiance while I was in undergrad nursing, and he's a veteran also. And so we just got to talking, and one thing led to another, and literally we founded HunterSeven based on his experiences and based on my path of, education. So now, I'm an ER nurse. I'm a clinical research nurse. That's about as good as it gets.
That's pretty good. That's really impressive. Like, I think it's funny that you dropped out of the college and then just went to the military anyways.
I didn't know what else to do. I was like, well, shit, I don't know what to do.
I feel you on that. I'm just about to turn 30, and I dropped out of college and was like, I don't know what to do with my life. And I went to the military. It's funny how it puts you where you're at now. So now that you have started this organization called HunterSeven Foundation, can you briefly describe what this is for people? Because I'm sure a ton of people don't know what HunterSeven is.
Yeah, it was funny. So when Evan Hafer from Black Rifle Coffee, when he first found out about us, he was like, I love to hunt. And I was like, me too, and I was like, but that's not what we do. And he was all bummed out. But so HunterSeven is actually the call sign of my fiance, Sergeant Major. So his call sign was HunterSeven when he was in Missoula. And then when they redeployed to Bakuba, obviously he was promoted. But HunterSeven was his call sign. And 44 years old, he passed away in 2013. And it was from a rare form of cancer called cholangiocarcinoma. And it's super rare, like super rare. Okay. Yeah, so it's weird because it's so rare. It only occurs in Asian males, usually in Asia, over the age of like 85 with like hepatitis or something crazy. So
what the fuck?
That's what I'm saying. So seeing this young, healthy, he was a sergeant major when he passed away. seeing this young, healthy Irish guy, his name was Rob Bowman, seeing this young, healthy Irish guy with 2 deployments to Iraq come back with this rare cancer. And, at first the doctor said, oh, it's not cancer, it's not cancer. And it took like 2 years to get him actually diagnosed properly. And by the time they did, it was too late and he passed away. And so what's scary now is like, we see this cancer more and more, and it's supposed to be like this rare cancer. It's weird. But so once I met my fiance and he told me this story about all his friends who were dying, at early ages, he named off like 5-6 people. I was like, wow, that's a problem. Like, young people should not have cancer like that,
Yeah.
And so it kind of aligned with what I was doing in school. And I went to my advisor and I said, hey, I want to do an honors project. And it's funny because, like I said, I had to stay back my freshman year of high school. And she was like, yeah, okay. And I told her what I wanted to do. And she was like, that's way too in depth. And I was like, no, it's not. I'll do it. I'll do it. And so sure as shit, I did it. And it turned out to be this whole big thing. It went national. We had national coverage on it with our findings. And, they were pretty significant in terms of like, Operation Iraqi Freedom veterans are more likely to fail a PT test, to have severe symptoms, chronic, after they return from Iraq. So we published it internationally. And so now what we do is we do a lot of education. We do a lot of clinical research on PTSD, TBI, cancer, you name it. We try to find a way to mitigate this big problem with the most proactive early solution. And we also do immediate needs. So, we're dealing with like 6 patients right now, or I shouldn't say patients, 6 veterans right now who have cancer. So what we do is we like assure they get the medication they need, the treatment they need. If something's wrong and nobody really knows what's going on, we'll send them places and have them taken care of or looked at through, Mass General home-based program up in Boston, Cleveland Clinic with Task Force Dagger. So we definitely try to do our best to get them the care they need. So we kind of do everything.
Okay. It's a lot to take in, but it's so incredibly important. And I know we had one of your guys on on Liberty Risk podcast a couple of weeks ago, and he was explaining to us toxic exposure and like some of the different things. And I was trying to ask him more in-depth medical questions, and he was like, I don't know, I can't answer that. I was like, that's okay, don't worry about it.
Who was on, Keith?
I think so.
Yeah, you should see his mustache now. It's awesome.
Oh, a good mustache always wins out. But yeah, I was trying to ask him all these questions, and he's sitting there and he's naming all these different types of exposure that people have that are just like killing people. And it's like right. Aircraft fluid, exhaust, asbestos, like tons of things. And I was sitting there and I was like, oh my God, I've had all those exposures.
And I mean, because the news media says, oh, burn pits. And it's like, it's the most dangerous assumption to assume that burn pits are the only type of exposure, and that there's so much focus on just that. Because I mean, I get it. Burning trash and jet fuel and breathing it in is deadly. Sure, duh.
Yeah.
But I mean, like, think about it statistically. A lot of the special operators in the community are getting diagnosed with these rare cancers. And I mean, they're not sitting on the base hanging out, on the fob. They're out kicking in doors. They're blowing up buildings, and, the asbestos is in the air. And, they're in firefights, and they're getting IED, blasts left and right. So I mean, like, their exposures are not burn pits. And, it's a misconception that irritates the hell out of me. But, every day we try to work at it and, find a way to do what's right.
Yeah. So for everyone listening, it's not just burn pits. Burn pits are a small portion.
Yeah.
There's way more to it. Okay. So I have a couple questions that are like, I had to really think of these because I come from a very medical backgrounded family. I'm the only one that did not go medical. Like, everyone else is like an engineer or is working in a hospital. And then I was like cybersecurity. So
I mean,
well, first off, it was like Navy, cybersecurity. So
nice.
you've named a couple of examples of different ways people can have toxic exposure, and then I named a couple. What is one of the most common toxic exposures for people that maybe aren't special forces or people kicking indoors? Like just the normal average Joe kind of person.
Excuse me. Yeah, so it's funny that you say that. So back in my day, I feel old saying that, but like in the Army, when we had ACUs, before they were all high speed, cry precision and all that, we used to take our uniforms. This was like an Army-wide thing. We used to take our uniforms and put them in these 50-gallon drums of DEET, like permethrin. We used to put them in there, literally, pull them out, and then lay them out on the field and have them dry in the sun. So the whole thing was, oh, well, if your uniforms are soaked with permethrin, you will not get bit by ticks, because we're up in Boston. You won't get bit by sand fleas. They were so worried about sand fleas in Iraq. I don't, I get it. They carry, like, you can get sick, but it's not that common. So you think about it, and it was just such an ironic moment. This is like an Army-wide thing. You pull your uniform out, you put it on, right? Think about the average temperature in Iraq. It's 100 to 130 degrees a day,
Yeah.
So you're wearing that uniform and your sleeves are down and you're sweating your ass off because it's hot as hell in Iraq. And you think about it, and your skin, to keep you, alive and moving, your pores open up and you sweat. That's how it works, right?
Yeah.
So you think about it, and then, you're sweating, you're breathing faster, because it's hot as hell out, and, maybe you're doing whatever you're doing. All that permethrin is being removed from that uniform and into your skin. So, I mean, like, increased risks of, like, chloracne, like the skin conditions, a lot of blistering. But one of the biggest systemic problems is, blood cancers, like,
Oh
yeah. Oh God. Yeah. Cause I mean, you think about it, what's underneath your skin? Blood.
Yeah.
It's a direct route. So it's stuff like that. And then the same thing, being covered in JP8 or, some kind of other fuel, it goes right into your skin. So, that's the other misconception. People believe that inhalation is the only form of, exposure. And I said, hell no, you can get, absorption will kill you systemically. Ingestion will kill you. You think about it, plastic water bottles, right? Everybody had plastic in Iraq. It's just how it went. So that plastic water bottle is sitting out in the sun. That's, probably the sun alone is going to take the benzene and the dioxins off of this plastic, these EDCs, the endocrine disrupting chemicals, and it's going to go into the water. And that's a direct source when you drink it. So
yeah,
that's the other thing. But there's so many, it's funny because, like, when we do stuff like this, my friends will be like, oh, name an exposure for this MOS or this MOS. And, we can name them because we track it.
Yeah.
So we know what to look out for,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I know just in the aviation field. And so I was aviation, and just with that, I know almost every single hazardous material that we worked with, we never wore gloves. Like, we would never wear gloves. There was at one point we were like wiping off grease on our arm with this one aircraft cleaner. And then we read the bottle and it was like, will definitely cause cancer. And we're like, we've been rubbing this on our skin. So we were like, we should probably stop doing that. And we got more cautious about it. But I remember tearing apart fuel lines and not having a mask or any, like, ventilation system, just tearing them apart. And my, who was it? My divisional officer coming up, and he's like, where's your mask for that? And I was like, why do I need a mask? And he's like, well, that's asbestos that you're breathing in.
Well, shit.
And I'm like, oh, I had no idea. But I mean, is JP8 not a suitable substitute for lotion? No, Hugh, it is not.
Oh, but see, I guarantee it, that's such an enlisted thing to ask. Like, that's a ball buster right there. Yeah. No, it's not. Don't use JP8 or anything close to for lotion. It doesn't work. Don't do it.
No, when I got out, it took me like probably a year for me to like grow the cilia back in my nose. So I couldn't smell things properly. And like my fingertips had been like the sensation had been burned off. Since then, it's come back, so it's fine now. But just working with like JP5, it just burns it off of you. But there were so many toxins. I know one of the radar systems that we worked with, if a guy was working on it, he was not able to have sons. It would fry the sperm, so he could only have daughters.
Well, that's terrible.
Yeah, it was super interesting. I had to like figure out how to say that. So whenever this, and everyone was exposed to it, we were all exposed to it at some point in time. So like if you were in the command, like you were guaranteed not to have a son while you were there.
That's crazy. I want to know how radiation differentiated between male and female sperm. That's what I want to know.
Yeah. Well, I don't know how it differentiated. So remember when there was that giant explosion of the nuclear plant in Japan?
What year?
Oh,
like the 40s?
2010, something like that. Yep. It was recent. So they had P3s that were flying through the clouds afterwards. Well, the P3s had radiation on them afterwards. Oh, March 11th, 2011. So not that long ago.
Wow.
I worked at the depot, one of the depot level places. So they would take those engines off and we would have to refurbish the engines. And I remember diving down one of the engine intakes and having, just being in there, not knowing anything and working on it. And then they come out and they're like, everyone get off of this engine. It's radioactive. It's been through the radioactive cloud. It's hot. You need to get out of there. And we got out. And a couple months later, I got a fibroadenoma in my chest. And I was like, that's not a good sign.
Holy shit.
So it's like, you don't think of it when you're doing it. And then later you realize how bad it really was and all the different exposures. So DV Oink says JP8, hydraulic fluid, engine oil, turbine oil, hydrofluorocarbon, heating fluid, brake fluid, asbestos, like Meg mentioned, shit, the list goes on and on. Yeah, there's so many things that people are exposed to. Now, for people that Hugh says, so asbestos is still used in many applications such as brake pads on cars, but I'd be willing to bet that we don't list or instruct enlisted persons what does or does not contain cancer-causing substances.
No way.
But you are supposed to read your MSDS and you do sign for it. You are supposed to read those and sign for it in your training. So that's where you're supposed to be told about it. But most of the time, you just kind of pencil whip it and you're like, fuck this shit, I don't care. And then later on, you're like, I do care. So for those that turn around and are like, I do care, what are some things that people can do if they think that they've been exposed and they want to get treatment for it?
So if you think you've been exposed, especially if you're downrange, going downrange, even if you're stateside, because I mean, like, there's some sketchy stuff going on we'll talk about after, but if you think you've been exposed, especially, go to your doc and get it written down, SF 600, keep track of like, so, another thing is like, if it's not like in nursing, if it's not documented, didn't happen, right? Mm-hmm. So I was actually dealing with a MARSOC guy yesterday, and he did 12 years, 6 deployments. And I said, yeah, well, I mean, in MARSOC. So I said to him, I was like, hey, do you have any awards or anything that you can send just so we can like create a nexus and see like where your exposures may have been, just because it's proof that he was there. So he sends me his like a Bronze Star commendation with valor. And so I'm reading it, and it was like, this Marine Corps veteran was in northern Iraq, so Mosul, Q West area, which Q West is a hot zone regardless. But it said that he conducted over 99 combat missions and killed over 386 terrorists. But he was also in charge of an incoming rocket attack, 40 rockets, which 18 were confirmed to have sarin mustard gas in them and chlorine gas. And so then this MARSOC veteran was tasked out to go help decontaminate the local populace's home. And like, this is all in a fucking award. I was like, dude, you're a badass, first of all. And I was like, but second, like, you wonder why you got 2 types of cancer at 33 years old. Like, right here. 2
Yeah.
So,
Oh,
you know,
wow.
keep track of your awards. Like, even, they give out fucking AAMs like it's their candy, or, RCOMs. Keep them, though, because it creates that nexus, and it shows like, hey, I was there on this date. SF 600s, on your pre-deployment health assessments. Don't fucking lie. Don't lie. I get it. Trust me, you gotta lie to fly. You know that. You gotta lie to fly. But be realistic when it comes to like, hey, they're asking me if I'm afraid that I've been exposed to anything. Don't be afraid to say no. Be like, yeah, I was fucking exposed to stuff, like, just name it off. Anything and everything you can imagine can be a toxin in the wrong time, place, person. So, just be mindful of that. Document your shit. Take pictures. We got cell phones these days. We didn't back in 07. So document everything. It's the best thing you can do for yourself. Create an I love me folder.
I have one of those at home.
Smartest thing I did.
So one of the things that I have always told people to do is that they can go to their doctor and they can get a heavy metals test done. Is that something that you would suggest for people?
So it's super hard. So yes, I would. And you'd be shocked at some of the shit that comes up in your bloodstream. Like, before I had back surgery, I had a blood test, and they said my lead levels, I was 22 years old. They said my lead levels were like 10 times the exceeded amount. And I was like, oh, well, what the fuck does that matter? And they're like, we need to actually grow or take more blood from you and keep some just in case you end up needing blood because your shit's so fucked up. And I was like, oh, didn't even think about it. So I was like, okay, good to go. Yes, if you think you've been exposed to heavy metals, especially if you're around EOD, if you're, a RSO on the range, especially infantry, they do those glass house drills, and, you're training inside a building or in an urban, one of those fake urban environments, the mout sites, that's covered in fucking lead. Covered. And they don't clean it. It's supposed to look like that, So if you think you've been exposed, definitely talk to your doctor. You're more likely to get a test through the VA because they understand your exposures. But majority of veterans, statistically, I think it's like only 1/4 of post 9/11 veterans utilize the VA. So if you go to your civilian doctor and you say, hey, listen, this is what's going on. This is my symptoms. I've been exposed to this. Can I have a urinalysis, heavy metals test urinalysis? They might say no, and then you got to push it. Just be like, listen, I get you're a doctor, not trying to knock you, but this is my exposures. I'm genuinely concerned about this risk. Can I please have a urinalysis for heavy metals? And if they say no, send me an email, and we'll make sure you get the right care you need. I promise.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, because I've spoken to several people, and they're like, oh, I worked on this thing and I worked on this thing. And I'm like, have you had a heavy metals test done? And generally people don't even know what it is. And I'm like, that's a good test to get done. It doesn't cover everything, but it covers certain things that might be able to help you out. Right. And I always suggest it to people. I've actually told them, I'm like, you better watch tonight because we're talking about this stuff.
Well, it's crazy because like you think about it, and like when you take a medication, the medication, it dissolves in your body, it goes to where it needs to go. The half-life is different for every medication, but all in all, you excrete it in your urine or, however, whatever medication it is. But with heavy metals, you don't. So heavy metals don't break down. There's no bioavailability, and they can stay in your system for fucking decades, depending on the metal. And, arsenic, cadmium, lead, those are all extremely toxic for your body. And your kidneys can't filter them out because your kidneys aren't meant to filter something that big out. So, it just circulates throughout your body. So, I mean, it's crazy. I was up in Salt Lake City at Black Rifle Coffee, and I was sitting there with one of the guys, and he said to me, I've had these weird bumps like right here and like right here. And he's showing me like all his lymph nodes. And I'm like, like and he was another Marine recon guy. And I was like, oh my God, dude. I was like, your lymph system is like in overdrive right now. And he's like, yeah, I don't know what's going on. I was like, you need to go to the doctor.
Yeah.
So.
Oh man. Yeah, that's, if your lymph nodes are blowing up, go to the doctor. I mean, regardless, because if you have a cold, you know, COVID is still kind of here, I guess, go to the doctor. What are some other illnesses that you have seen? So we've got cancer, we've got the lymph node issues because of the heavy metals. Or what are some other illnesses or ailments and symptoms that people have come up and been like, hey, I got this weird thing. I got this like third arm growing out of my elbow.
So we actually started tracking the deaths that were not related to cancer in military members. And a lot of them, we have like TBI related ventricular rupture of the brain aneurysms, heart condition, died suddenly at 23 years old, bacterial infection, pulmonary embolism while running in Kuwait. Like some of these are crazy. Natural causes, 29 years old. Like you don't die from natural causes at fucking 29 years old.
Yeah.
Yeah, do I need to document request?
So the question is, do I need documentation to request certain tests if I think I've been exposed to various sources?
I mean, your doctor might question you, like, why do you think you need this? Because, you know, they don't fully understand, especially if you utilize a civilian doctor. Mm-hmm. But all in all, the doctor's not paying for it. Your insurance is paying for it. So they should order the test. And I mean, that's when you have to have like a heart-to-heart with the doctor and be like, listen, I'm genuinely concerned about this. And I've seen it go both ways, you know, being in the ER, I've seen it go both ways. So, I mean, you know, what I suggest is, you know, keep a notebook. And that's what I do. You know, if I feel like, wow, today I feel like I can't even think straight, you know, I'll document it, like, you know, brain fog, you know, and try to go from there. But you'd be shocked at the stuff that they can pull from your body through blood work and through, you know, urinalysis. So definitely keep track of it, but, you know, just be totally transparent with your doctor.
Interesting. Yeah. So Hugh also asks, are we seeing damages to organs we didn't expect or wouldn't expect based on their exposure?
Yeah. So some of the organ issues that we've seen, and, you know, like mantle cell lymphoma. I didn't even know mantle cell lymphoma was a real thing until, you know, JTAC Luke Page passed away from it. And his wife's a good friend of mine. So it's, you know, but a lot of glioblastomas, especially in the SEAL community. Gastric cancers, prostate, bladder, you name it. Acute myeloid leukemia. Leukemia is a big one. The blood, you know, the blood cancers, cholangiocarcinoma, that's coming back. Colon cancers at a young age. So, I mean, a lot of like weird things, like, you know, gallbladder issues. Myself and two other of the nurses that I work with who served in the military have either had gallbladder issues or had to have their gallbladder removed. And I mean, like, I'm not the epiphany of health anymore, you know, but COVID's been rough on me.
I think it's been rough on us all.
But I mean, like, so stuff like that, like, you know, otherwise healthy individuals who all of a sudden need, you know, 40 milligrams of pantoprazole just to eat a meal. So a lot of weird, odd things going on with people. You know, a lot of autoimmune issues. Autoimmune is probably one of the biggest issues we see medically. That's huge. I'm dealing with a guy right now who has a severe autoimmune issue to the point where he has cyclic fevers that hit 105 between 4 o'clock and 8 o'clock at night. I know that will kill you. So he like has to go back and forth to the hospital. He's also a cancer patient. But yeah, this autoimmune stuff, because something happens, your body just, you know, either it's a virus or a toxin or, you know, reactive oxygen species from different hazards or chemicals. And it literally just destroys your body. It makes your body go into overdrive. And so autoimmune issues is a big one. But that's also testable. You can also get your autoimmune hormones tested. So, or your autoimmune cells. So like your ILs and your, all that good stuff, your ESR, CRP. So if you have inflammation, you might want to get checked out.
I'm writing this down so I can ask my doctor. When I have a doctor's appointment in like a week and they're like, you have to get blood tests done, I'm going to be like, I need these. These are important.
Yeah, your ESR and your CRP, I highly recommend those. And
ESR, CRP.
Thyroid hormones. Yeah, I'm telling you, people don't get their thyroid checked, and that's another one. That's a direct correlation of your hormones. And your hormones are so connected with, TBIs, with chronic stress, you name it. I mean, exposures, endocrine disrupting chemicals. So
yeah, I've been told multiple times my mother was she was at 9/11. She like came out of the subway and was there and saw everything happening. She now has an autoimmune disorder. She has like different illnesses that you only see with like combat veterans. So she's told me multiple times, she's like, you need to go and get your thyroid checked. There's something wrong with you. Cause I have stomach ulcers, gastritis, pancreatitis. And I was like, how'd I get pancreatitis at 28?
Do you drink?
I mean, sometimes.
Hashimoto's a big one.
Yeah.
That's a big one, which is very rare for adults. It's usually in children, but that's a big one.
Are we able to connect energy levels, sex drives, attention, sleep patterns to exposure?
Absolutely. You'd be shocked. Chronic Gulf War syndrome is based off chronic fatigue. Chronic fatigue is gonna, whether it's related to chronic stress, PTSD, those endocrine disrupting chemicals. But yeah, if you have been exposed to plastics, PVC, stuff like that, it can easily ruin your sex drive. It's interesting. It's one of the and like testosterone. So a lot of guys assume that, their testosterone's fine because they're a man and they're tough. And I'm like, you're such an asshole. Like it's a typical guy thing. They're like, I don't need that. And I'm like, listen, dude, you're wasting away your muscle mass. And like, it's common in like these tier 1 operators, SEALs, Green Berets, they have low testosterone, chronically low testosterone. And
interesting.
Yeah. And it's from chronic stress. So when cortisol goes up and your adrenal fatigue, begins to happen, and then you have all these other fucking exposures just hitting you at once, your cortisol goes up, your immune system goes down, everything just kind of goes with it. So I tell people, I'm like, go get your testosterone checked. And women too. I didn't even know women had testosterone, but Fly Girl RN on Instagram, she's a badass Navy nurse, did 23 years in the military, and she's hardcore, and she's like, it changed my life. She's like, my testosterone was extremely low, below what women should be at. And as soon as she started taking it, she got like these little pellets inserted into like her ass, and they dissolve. Yeah, it's fucking wild. When she told me this, I was like, this doesn't sound legal. And but she's like, it's literally changed her emotional state, her physical state. I mean, she's like 42 and has 3 kids, and she looks amazing. And I'm like, well, shit, if that's the secret. So women,
you just get tablets put in your butt and you're good.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. I'm telling you, check her on Instagram. She's hilarious. She's the funniest person ever. Very smart nurse. But yeah, it's crazy. So women have these problems too, and they're less likely to speak up, especially female veterans. So
yeah. Oh yeah, I know. Going to the VA clinics, half the time you walk in as a female and they're like, oh, are you here with your husband? And you're like,
fuck you.
You see a ring on this finger? No. So it's a lot of fun going to the VA clinics, and they just kind of look at you like, why are you here? And you're like, I served.
Yep.
So Hugh also asked, you mentioned you had to tell someone to go see a doctor because they weren't sure if it was important. Can we guess what percentage of people are going to the doctor versus people who aren't making the necessary claims or making the claims necessary?
Ooh.
Yeah, that's a long question.
Long question.
Make it shorter, Hugh.
You mentioned having to tell somebody to see a doctor because. Can we guess what percentage? What do you mean by aren't making the claims necessary?
So I'm guessing that he means like they're going in and they don't know what claims to make. So
yeah.
are you able to, so if somebody has a VA claim and they go in and they do like PTSD, they have bad knees, they have a bad back, can't hear, and then later down the line they're like, I want to be tested for all of this stuff. How do they make that claim with the VA to be like, hey, I have this toxic exposure to whatever things? Is that something that you guys are knowledgeable on, or?
Yeah, so we usually, and here's the thing, we usually, because there's so many veterans with so many issues, and I mean, we kind of triage people based on severity. So I mean, you know, like 2 veterans I'm working with right now who don't have claims in with the VA, you know, we assist them to get the service connection, but usually it's not our wheelhouse because, you know, we're more in tune to saying, hey, listen, if we get this person squared away in terms of getting them screened early on, they'll be more likely to survive long term. So I mean, we don't really focus on claims as much, but we do if we need to.
So he's now asking, do we know what percentage of people are making claims versus people who don't go because they don't think it's worth their time?
You ask, I swear, and this is the epiphany of the OIF, OEF, GWAT male veteran. And I'm calling them out because it's true. I tell my fiance all the time, you know, he's not a drinker and he has acute liver failure. He's 33 years old. I say to him, I'm like, hey man, you got sleep apnea. You've gained 50 pounds strictly in your stomach. You have acute liver failure. You should probably go to the doctor. And as a nurse, you know, I care. You know, as a wife, I mean, I do want your life insurance, but shit, you know. So, and he won't go. He's stubborn as shit. And
I do want your life insurance. I'm right there with you.
Yeah, I worked hard. No, but no, a lot of people don't see the seriousness, and it's like, and this is a very American way of thinking, and it's a generalistic American way of thought. We don't see things from a primary perspective. We look at it on a tertiary, you know, perspective. So you think about it, and you're at the top of you know, a hill, right? And you jump in the water at the top of the hill and you're like, oh, fuck, I can't swim, but this is a fun ride down. So I'm just going to, you know, ride it out and wait about drowning, you know, be concerned about drowning once I get to the bottom. And then all of a sudden, you know, it's rip currents and you're dead. And that's the way people think about healthcare. They're like, oh shit, I have a problem, but it'll probably go away on its own. Maybe not. You know, I'll wait out and see what happens. It's exactly what happens. So I see it all the time. People will say, I'm not at risk for that. And I'm like, yes, the fuck you are. Like, I see you sitting here struggling to breathe. You know, you don't smoke, you don't drink. Your SpO2 is at 87. You know, you're a 36-year-old Army Ranger. This isn't normal, you know?
Yeah.
So I want to say probably only 10% take it seriously, which is
wow,
extremely scary. Yeah, especially when you see the statistics, like the numbers and the names and the ages of the people that have died. You know, it's crazy.
Yeah, that's a very low amount of people that are going to get treatment and actually care about their health. And I know we talk a lot about mental health nowadays with veterans, but it's your physical health as well. Like, they come out and they're like, oh, I'm super healthy, I'm great, I'm fine. And it's like, no, you're not. And if you think that there is something wrong with you and the doctor is not giving you answers, and you need to keep pushing them, and you need to keep, if they're not going to help you and they're going to gatekeep their medical knowledge, then go find a different doctor.
Yep. Or reach out to us. We'll, you know, I work crazy hours and I, you know, but we have about 10 volunteers on our team. So we'll make sure that you get the care that you need if you just reach out. We'll make sure, you know.
Yeah. And thank you, Oink, for tuning in. We'll see you next time. Yeah, it's crazy how much gatekeeping there has been. I know when they diagnosed me with pancreatitis, she was like, oh, you're fine. Just take this medicine for a week and you'll be okay. And I've continued to have pain in my pancreas. Like I'll have a drink and then have pain, and I'm like, it's been years since I've had that. Why am I still having pain? And they're like, oh, you're fine. Stop worrying about it.
And that's the biggest concern, because like, being that I'm a nurse, I survive. My income comes off of people being sick, right? It's sad but true. And so when we sit there and you come in with this problem, why am I going to cure you? If I cure you, you're not going to come back to me. And how am I going to continue to, get paid, So we have a very tertiary healthcare system that is very reliant on not so much as solving the underlying problem, but more so bandaging and temporarily, pushing it to the back burner. And it's a very sad way of healthcare in America. It really is. We're just so like, hey, fuck it, we'll do it later. We'll figure it out later.
Yeah.
But I looked at, we have 75 names that were submitted to us around Memorial Day for cancer-related deaths, and I just looked at the average age of those 75, and the average age is 39.4 years old at time of death.
Wow, that's so young.
Yeah. Oh, fuck yeah.
That's half your life. If you're gonna live till you're like 70 or 80, you're not making it too far.
The youngest one was 21 years old, and the oldest one was a Delta operator at 61 years old. So.
Wow. So Hugh asked, members who seek treatment while in service still, if their medical department doesn't take them seriously, what should they do to move their issues forward to get treatment?
This is a good one.
Yeah.
So I had a Green Beret reach out to me, 27-year-old Green Beret, one deployment to Afghanistan. And he reached out after another Green Beret actually died of colorectal cancer. And so he said to me, hey, I just saw your post about that guy, young guy, 30, I want to say he was in his 30s. And so he said to me, he's like, I'm concerned because, I'm only 27 and I have rectal bleeding. And of course, when you're 27 years old, you're rectally bleeding. Like that's fucked up.
That's bad.
So you think about it and you're like, okay, eat more fiber, because as a healthcare provider, as an ER nurse, if I saw this young, fit, good-looking, healthy, jacked guy come in, I'd be like, eat more fiber, eat more fiber. And I'm guilty of that as a veteran, But when he said to me, he's like, no, it's severe. And I was like, how severe? And he sent me a picture. And I was like, oh my God, dude, what is going on? And so I said to him, I was like, this is what you need to do. And he's like, I went to my battalion doc, and this is Special Forces. This is an actual ODA team member who went to his battalion doc in the Special Forces group and said, hey, doc, I'm rectally bleeding, blah, blah, blah. He had to fight for months to get a colonoscopy. And they said, oh, there's some weird stuff going on, but it's probably just hemorrhoids. This amount of blood, when I say it was like a clot, it was like a clot. And I was like, it blew my mind. And so I was really frustrated over it. And I said, who do you talk to about that? Your battalion doc is probably an officer. You're an E6, E7. What are you going to do? Right. And so in that case, he actually called, the med debt for SOCOM, so the CARE Coalition, and they took care of it. But there's a resource for if you're not getting treated properly or screened properly on active duty, there's always something or somewhere you can go, especially like, I can't think of the resources off the top of my head, but I will get a list to you. I'll email a list to you.
Okay. And we will post it on Liberty Risk page as well.
But yeah, I see it all the time that, people you're not taken seriously. And it's like a crazy story. I actually, Congresswoman Elaine Loria out of Virginia asked me to write an op-ed about toxic exposure. So I did. And so I was aviation, and I explained this one time how I was walking to the flight line and, all the sand kicking up and everything. And you're sitting there and you can smell the nasty ass fuel burning off the burners. We were in a MH-60.
Oh, me too.
Yeah. See, I still got a chronic cough. So
I can't swallow. It's weird.
It's terrible. So, Yeah, we were walking to the helicopter and just so many times, doing that over and over again. And just like the JP8 from, the 92 Foxes that were assholes accidentally spraying you. Like it happened so much. It was just terrible. But, so I ended up, one of the craziest things I did as a medic, I was put in charge of an EOD blast, which is fucking beyond my scope of practice. But it was like, hey, you want to blow something? You're the smartest one here. You want to blow something up? And I was like, fuck yeah, I do. So we took deck cord and C4 and we daisy chained it together and put in between boxes of cardboard boxes, and we put 2-gallon bags of JP8 in each of them. When I say this motherfucker blew up like you wouldn't believe, like it was insane. And so,
oh man,
us being the smart army people that we are, I ignited it, stripped the cord, I ignited it with a 9-volt battery, blew the fucking thing up, and when it was bad. And I'll have to send you the video, but we were downwind. So yeah. So the wind,
no.
yeah, fucking assholes I am. So the wind blew down, and I'm telling you, the air was literally taken from my body, and it didn't hurt, but I couldn't breathe. Like it didn't hurt, but I was like you just lost like all breath, And so finally I was like, well, fuck. And my friend's sitting there with his nose over, everything's on fire. And I was like, shit, maybe I shouldn't have done this. And so,
hindsight's 2020.
So same situation with you. I was having severe pancreatic pain. I ended up at Mass General Hospital, and they said to me, oh, it's psychosomatic. You're stressed out. And I was like, my blood pressure's 200 over fucking 100. I'm about to stroke out.
Oh my God.
So they did a scan and they didn't see anything, but they said, hey, you really got to stop smoking. And I was like, what the fuck? And I was like, he's like, yeah, you got a bunch of these nodules, like these huge, like, 1, 2, 3 millimeter nodules on your lungs. And I was like, oh. And he's like, yeah, you have the lungs of a fucking 60-year-old smoker. And I was like, I've never smoked a day in my life.
Oh no.
Yeah. So I was like, oh. And he's like, oh, then don't worry about it. I was like,
don't worry about it. That is a cause for concern right there with that statement.
Yeah. So, I mean, I can't breathe. It's shitty. And when I tell people like, hey, by the way, I got these fucking nodules right here. You want to check them out? And they're like, do you smoke? And I'm like, well, no, but, and they're like, oh, you're fine. And I'm
like, no, it's not fine. You need to check it.
So it's so obvious. It happens all the fucking time with doctors kind of downplaying symptoms, but then again, they don't understand veteran healthcare. And
and I was going to say, even the VA doesn't really understand the healthcare, because I got a lump in my chest. I had it removed. They checked for cancer, non-cancerous. And I have continued to get lumps since then. And as you can see, we can take a look right now. This is your one chance. I am not large chested. I can try to be, but I am not. I was 24 at the time when this happened. So I was very young to be getting this, and I'm not large chested, no history of breast cancer in my family whatsoever. So I have to get checked every 6 months. I went to the VA last year, and I was like, hey, I need to have my ultrasounds done every year to make sure they don't grow or anything. The VA people in the ultrasound office canceled my order twice because of my age.
Yep.
They're like, you're too young for that. And I'm like, no. Doctor's orders. They had to put it in 3 times. And the doctors they were like, you're too young to have this. And it's like, it doesn't matter how young you are.
Right. And I mean, that's so, a scary fact. And, as a nurse, I take a lot of pride in being a nurse. And, nursing is the most trusted profession. It has been for the past 30 years, right? Most trusted profession in the world, right? Nursing.
Mm-hmm.
Studies show that only 4% of nurses are competent to provide veteran-centric care. That's a true fucking statement. And the woman who did that research study was actually the chief whistleblower protection something. I don't know. Tammy Bonzato. She's an amazing woman for the VA. So she was a sworn-in official, and she did this research study as a nurse. 4% of the most trusted job in the world is competent to provide veteran-centric care. Only 4%. It's fucking terrifying.
It is, and I can see that being totally true.
Yeah. It's a great study, great research study. Nurses are fucking, everybody thinks it's mental health. And I mean, I'm sure a lot of it is, you know, we all, you know, a lot of us were fucked up before we went in, but
yeah.
We need to stop chalking off, you know, oh, you have this pain, it's psychosomatic. Oh, you're having this issue. I had a Marine Corps veteran die on November 5th of last year. Patrick Duva, Marine Corps, did one deployment to Afghanistan with 3-2 as a machine gun, a mortarman. Oh. He went to the doctor and he said, hey, my vision's starting to, you know, it's starting to get all fucked up. I don't know what's going on. I had 20/20 vision. And so they're like, yeah, well, you know, vision changes happen. He's like, well, I got these severe migraines for 3 fucking years. He was told that it was just migraines, TBI, PTSD, headaches. Finally, they said to him, oh, you're losing vision in one eye. Why don't we send you to the ophthalmologist, you know? So he goes to the ophthalmologist and they look and see inside of his eyes and they say, hey, man, you got a fucking something on your brain. You got a spot on your brain. Like, you need to go get an MRI. It took them about 3 weeks to get him an MRI, and sure as shit, he had brain cancer, and he died at 29 years old. So, I mean, like what the fuck? Stop telling these veterans that it's not physical, that it's PTSD or TBI or it's mental health related. You know, like, you know, nobody knows your body better than you, you know?
Yeah. And
it's frustrating.
Yeah. If you feel like there's something that's wrong and in your gut, you just know that you're not getting all the answers, Chelsey's here. Email her. She's going to be here to help you guys. That's like, so many of these stories are so sad, and it's crazy to think that people are not taking this chance to get better. And part of it is because of doctors or nurses not understanding what they're looking at and downplaying whatever illness they have. Right. It's so sad. And for my last question for you, which is we're changing topics a little bit. What are your future plans for HunterSeven? What are you trying to get into in the future?
So, yeah, it's pretty wild. We have a great team, and, you know, we're all volunteers for the time being. But we're big on innovation, you know, which is funny because, like, literally, like I said, I couldn't plug in a fucking microphone. So we're big on innovation, early identification, prevention. So long term, we have something that's going to make a huge impact on veteran healthcare. You know, we're going to continue working with, you know, members in the White House, the VA. You know, we're not anti-VA. We don't say, you know, fuck the VA. We're not like that. You know, we understand you're still dealing with Vietnam veterans. So we're trying to work collectively with DOD, the VA, you know, members of Congress. They're, you know, very supportive. And we're trying to build a proactive plan for long term. But in the short term, we're still doing treatments for veterans. We're still doing, you know, research. We have 3 studies, you know, coming up this year. And we're still doing a lot of education. We're going to go out to San Diego, a company called Never Fucking Quit. It was a great company name. It's literally Never Fucking Quit.
I like that.
NFQ official. Yeah. The owner reached out to me and he's like, I want to help you. One of his brand reps was one of our cancer patients. And so he said, here's 15 grand, teach people. And I said, well, shit. Okay. So we're going to San Diego on the 9th of November. And we're going to have this big fucking symposium full of education and fun stuff and, you know, just cool shit. So we're going to be doing that. But long term, we get a lot of cool stuff going on. So, I mean, like, a lot of it's like top secret.
Oh, okay. I won't delve too deep then.
But no, we're rolling out with some pretty amazing shit. It's above my pay grade. I couldn't plug in my fucking microphone, so above my pay grade.
Don't worry, I had to like figure out how to do my setup because I just moved, so I'm like, how do I do all this stuff? So I'm there with you.
That's funny.
But
good stuff going on in the future.
Yeah, and I'm definitely digging your shirt there. I've been eyeballing it the whole time, and I'm like, yo, is that a HunterSeven shirt?
Well, so this logo is wicked fucking in depth, and a Green Beret friend, his girlfriend, she owns Rockabilly Studios down in Florida, and
Okay.
she fucking hand drew this, and I mean, like, yeah, she's wicked,
Wow.
wicked artistic, yeah, Ashley, but yeah, she hand drew this, so it's supposed to be like representative of like what we do. So I mean, it has like the 7 for HunterSeven. It has like the tribal look on the outer, but it's like a Greek tribal look.
Okay.
Tribal's kind of fucking lame.
Yeah.
So, it's fucking lame. So it's like the Greek, for tribe, because we're a tribe. And then the medical symbol. Then it has the globe, and then it has the American flag. So she did a kick-ass job doing this. Like, if you check out the actual logo on the site, I'll send you guys a ton of stuff. It's pretty fucking, she did a great job.
Yeah, because I'm probably going to order one after this because I love me some good long sleeves.
Shoot me your address and your size. We'll hook you up.
Okay. I'm down.
Black Rifle Coffee, too. We got you. You drink coffee, Black Rifle Coffee.
I just started to.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I'm late to the game. I've been drinking Monster energy drinks for the past 8 years, so.
Monster's one of the most toxic fucking energy drinks out there. Not as bad as Rip It's. Not as bad as Rip It's.
Oh God, Hugh did like a commercial for Rip It's a couple years ago. That's so funny.
Rip It actually, yeah, but I mean, I drink Killcliff, and no, they don't sponsor me. HunterSeven, but it is clean energy, and there's no sugar in it. So, I mean, I do drink a lot of fucking Killcliff, like by the case a week. So,
yeah, I'm starting to get into drinking coffee more often. I'm like, this is probably a little healthier, but yeah, I'm totally down to rep their stuff because I think I actually have a Black Rifle Coffee Company shirt.
They're the most amazing fucking people out there. Like,
yeah,
people will be like, oh, it's a bro vet thing. And I'm like, unless you actually sit there and you meet Evan and you talk to him, that dude cares so much about his community. And he's very like humble about it too. I mean, he sponsored our research, gave us $15,000 to publish our research and conduct the research fully. Yeah. And I mean, they continue to just hook us up and send us stuff for like promotions and all that. So, I mean, I think they're a great fucking company, personally.
I'll have to look into them more. I was actually looking at a subscription for them. But thank you so much for coming on with us. If you want to just hang back with us after we finish up the show, I know the guys have a ton more questions for you.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, I know. But thank you so much for coming on the show. I've truly appreciated having you here, and we'll have to schedule for you to come back on and update us on what you're doing again.
Yeah, absolutely. It sounds good.
All right. Well, thank you everyone for tuning in for this week. I am your host, Megan, and this is my guest, Chelsey. Have a great week, and I'll see you in 2 weeks. Woohoo!